Hello and welcome to the Skillwork Forum. My name is Tim. I'm joined with my partner Brett here from Skillwork. We gather each week to discuss topics and issues surrounding the skilled labor shortage in America. I guess as a business leader, Brett, and this topic that we're going to be talking about today, you and I were sharing some of our thoughts about this, but as a business leader, I'm not sure there's anything that causes as much sleepless nights or as many sleepless nights as knowing you got a customer out there that is not happy with you or your performance or your organization. The conversations maybe that you used to have with them that used to be something to look forward to are now something that you dread. And you're looking at the phone and the caller ID and hoping it's not that person calling you up that you know is not going to be happy with you. The goodwill that you may have taken years to create has somehow eroded and that relationship has gone south. Sometimes that can happen in a big hurry. This gets even more difficult if you don't have a viable solution that you can give them. If you don't have an answer to their problem, you know you don't. So we've been in this series, as I mentioned, called The Cost of Not Changing. And it revolves around what are some of the costs that companies, maybe you out there listening to this today, that you're dealing with and trying to resolve your skilled worker shortage. So what's a cost that you are incurring for not changing? So in today's podcast, Brett, we're going to talk about the dilemma of facing unhappy customers and how that can often force us as leaders and decision makers to take on a new perspective to an old problem. So it can be a good thing if you look at it in the right light. So as we get into this, I think one of the primary reasons companies fail to deliver on time, fail to meet their deadlines, finish projects as promised, or start delivering lower quality products than their customers are used to or demand, is simply because they got a lack of skilled, qualified workers to execute what they need to execute.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm thinking of, two companies currently, Tim, that we have the pleasure of considering our client. We hope that we keep them as satisfied clients.
Yes.
And stuff. But, both of them came to us, I think with kind of the reasoning or this dissatisfied customer. One of them specific had a dissatisfied customer. The other one, I think, recognized the risk of the potential of a dissatisfied customer. And so in the first one, this was a company that, a lot of times, as a business owner, when you start a business, you have some very, your early customers really become kind of close relationships. They become almost your partners and they helped you get there. And in this particular case, that was the situation. This company, their construction company, and a company that really gave them a lot of their early start was this particular client of theirs. And they, I remember actually, it just was by chance, they had already reached out to us about trying to help them. Their business had grown to the point where they had, to be honest, they probably had several dissatisfied customers because of demand. But it was, I remember being in the room when one of the other gentlemen was referring to this long-time kind of legacy customer of theirs. And this gentleman voiced how unhappy they were with our client. And you could see it in his face. It was like he knew it, but maybe he was hoping they hadn't noticed that they clearly had taken a back seat. And I don't think they had taken a back seat. They just couldn't manage through it. But at that point, it really became personal to them to say, this is no longer okay. We've spent years building our reputation, and we don't want to tear it down. And so fortunately, we were kind of already in the mix with them and starting, but it really, I think, made things move quicker. And within a few weeks, we were able to begin to get them the skilled staff that they needed to be able to address projects. And I think we're still in the beginning processes of it, but I think it's going to have a good outcome because of the partnership. So, the other situation, Tim, which is something that I know, you spend a lot of time with here with us, and that's assessing risk, And we had another client, was one of our early clients, and they were about 6 months into the planning stage of the largest project that their company was ever going to do. And fortunately, the CFO of the company recognized that if they didn't do something to solve their skilled talent shortage, that they were at a very strong possibility of failing on this project. We got through it. We ended up becoming about 50% of their staff through the project. And the CFO later, had indicated that if they had not brought Skillwork in to help them with their shortage, that it wasn't a question of if, it would have been when they would have failed by not recognizing it. So,
well, that's glad you brought up those two stories, because in both cases, that there was a lot of time and energy and personal relationship invested in landing that business, and a lot of times, depending on what business you're in, that can be weeks, months, and even years to develop that relationship, and it can really be, hurt and damaged irreparably in a short amount of time. So, skilled labor shortage is one of the biggest factors that we hear that is driving this impact the companies and their failure to, as I mentioned, to deliver on time, to meet their deadlines. And what we've seen a lot is that the production of quality products just begins to fall off. And that nothing gets a call from a customer quicker than something they've used to being at a quality level up here that all of a sudden starts coming in defective, not as many as they wanted, the wrong type, and that can lose you customers in a hurry. So that's a big deal that we're seeing, and we can alleviate that concern. So
yeah, no, you're right, Tim. It's there's obviously there's the timeline. There's the not getting a project done, which probably falls more in the construction services space with those project timelines. But you can have the same situation in that. You can also have it in the manufacturing, which are the two primary spaces that we work in, and but in that, when you're short talent, you begin to there becomes a just get it done, but get it done kind of subpar, because you can only spread the few people you have so far. So you can dissatisfy people even when you get them the product, if it's delayed and or now the quality has gone down because you just don't have the resources that you need.
Right. Well, the fact of the matter is, we're business owners and we run a business. Many of you out there are. We're also consumers. We consume a lot of goods, and I can tell you, as a customer of other businesses, if we're not being served at the level that we've either become accustomed to or that we require, we will find an alternative solution. And your customers will find an alternative solution if you're not able to do that. And that costs you a lot, as we'll get into some of those statistics here as we move forward with some of this information. So the customers will look for and find another alternative if you're unable to meet those some of those deadlines, demands we talked about.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous, back, when I was in the manufacturing space, Tim, that always used to be a dangerous spot when you would think your customers couldn't go anywhere. That was usually about the time you were about to find out that wasn't the case. And so, you started taking things for granted. That's usually a dangerous spot. But anyhow, we got a few statistics here, that talks about just the cost of not meeting a customer's demands. And so, a couple of these quotes that we found, was 51% of customers have switched brands due to bad service experiences. And what's more interesting is they said that 81% of them say the brand could have prevented it.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting.
So half are leaving, and then 80% of those said they could have fixed it.
Yeah, they could have fixed it if they would have just been aware and done something. So, and then it says 8 out of 10 consumers won't buy products with companies with a negative review. And so, that reputation
Means everything.
is everything. And then customers are 3 times more likely to tell their friends about a negative experience, which we all know that's true because people love to talk about negative stuff.
Sure.
And then it takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one unresolved negative experience.
Man, that was staggering too, because so every time I let a customer down, it takes me 12 times. I mean, I think about just personal relationships. You know, Brett, you and I, we have a heart for marriages, and we do a lot of marriage ministry. And I can tell you, we always say the impact between husband and wife, sometimes it's, you earned in pennies and spent in dollars.
Yep.
It's similar with customers. So 12 positive experiences make up for one negative. That's a huge cost associated with every one of those. So on the other hand, then totally satisfied. So if you were to do surveys and you were to ask your customers out there, how satisfied are they with what you're providing? And if they come back saying the rating is, hey, we're totally satisfied, those customers contribute, get this, 14 times more revenue than somewhat satisfied. That's that good to great, that old business book.
Yep.
If you can give them that extra, so, maybe you're a couple of guys short of skilled tradesmen, and, that gap could be costing you 14 times your revenue to take you from they're okay to they're great. Another statistic here, customers whose issues are resolved, in other words, like you got a complaint, but we're going to fix it for you, they tell 4 to 6 people about their positive experience. So not quite as dramatic as negative, but still, I mean, they will tell, and that's that reputation that you work so hard to gain. People do tell other people about when they've had a positive experience with your business.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. And so, I've had, in most of my businesses, I've tended to have a lot of involvement in the sales side of the organization. And so, from sitting in that seat and being that person who has driven and had to go out there and find those customers, I can tell you that getting sales, getting customers is not easy. And so the idea that you're just going to always be able to find new ones, is really difficult. We saw a stat that said it costs 6 to 7 times more to acquire new customers than to retain the existing ones. You always want to focus your business with the idea that if you have a customer, you've worked really hard to get them. And the idea that you then don't do everything in your power to keep them, and the idea that there's just always going to be another one to go get, plus the fact that you've probably lost them out of a negative experience, which we've already talked about. Now you've started down a more difficult thing of getting new customers because your negative experience reputation is out there. But customers are special. And we say it a lot of times, business would be really easy if you didn't have any customers, but then you wouldn't have any business. So.
Right. It's interesting that, we're talking about dissatisfied customers, customer service, taking care of your customers in the context of the skilled tradesman shortage. So maybe we should link those things together. So all of this is part of this, the series that we're going through about the pain of not changing. So if you're staying with where you are, let's say that you're short of staff. You're short of staff. Your customers are complaining, or they're going to. You're not getting stuff delivered on time. And the reason is, in large part, because you just don't have the people you need to either meet their current demand or the increased demand that they have. So the pain of just staying with the way you're doing things with respect to your staffing, sometimes it causes a pain like losing customers to get your attention. So we're just expressing that we've experienced that with some of our clients, and maybe you have too, and maybe it's something that we can help you with. So being understaffed causes a lot of issues, both internally and externally. Not the least of those is dissatisfied customers.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I would encourage business leaders to really, we're going to talk about in a future episode about, the tyranny of the urgent, and these things all kind of fit together in that. But I mean, you need to get ahead of this, because unhappy customers, they will leave you, and they're very difficult to get back. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so just to reiterate some of the points Brett made earlier too, that nothing costs more. In your business, we can look at all the costs, but nothing costs you more than losing your current customers. You don't want to lose your current customers. Keep them happy, keep them satisfied no matter what it takes. So if you look at just the bottom line cost of what it takes to close the gap in your skilled tradesman staffing issues with something that we provide, whatever that cost is, it's nothing compared to the 14 times the revenue loss as a result of dissatisfied customers.
Yep, no, for sure. You talk about, your reputation matters. If you really put it, you talked about it a minute ago, Tim, you talked about marriage ministry, you could talk about, but, reputation for a business, I kind of equate it's the same as character for an individual. And so as a business leader or as a husband or as a wife, whatever that is, as a father or you name it, you can spend years building up your character and do a lot of good things, and it takes one bad decision, to tear your character down. Well, it's really very similar to your reputation in a business. You can work very, very hard to build a great reputation, take care of your customers, but if you start to take that for granted and let that to erode, then pretty soon all that work can go away really quickly. And I think it's really important for business leaders to recognize where they are. Don't be satisfied with not satisfying your customers.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about, on an individual level, being self-aware. Where are your weaknesses and blind spots? I mean, maybe you just don't know. Just you're trying to figure out why your sales are slowing down, why your growth is slowing down. It could be that you're facing dissatisfied customers. So certainly we would encourage you to keep your finger on the pulse, check in with them, especially long-time customers that you tend to take for granted. Happy customers are your best selling points. I mean, we just had some work done at our home on our driveway, and one of those deals where, hey, we'll give you X% off if we can put a sign out in front of your yard, and I'm like, depends on how the job goes.
Yeah.
So the job went well, put a sign up. One of my neighbors saw the sign, hey, I'm thinking about getting this done too. What, are you happy with the job they did? And I'm like, absolutely. I had a couple of issues. They came back, they fixed it, no problem. Now I'm told that neighbor and maybe another neighbor, they'll tell somebody else. So versus, no, I wouldn't hire that company. Yeah. It didn't go well. So it really matters. Happy customers are your best selling point. So if your dissatisfied customer impact is being driven by your skilled worker shortage, that's where we come in. We just encourage you to reach out to us. Let us see if there's some way we could help you. Give an assessment. Doesn't cost anything. Give us a call. Could be something that we might be able to help. We've helped other companies. This is not like a lifetime commitment. We can help you get over the hump to get you through a rough spot. Reach out to us, skillwork.com. It'll be here on the podcast. You can link to us. Brett and his team will reach out to you, and we love to help companies get back on point with their customers and move their company forward. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Skillwork. Remember, Skillwork Forum here exists to help you and companies like you. So reach out to us at skillwork.com if we can connect with you and follow up on this topic. Until next time, we'll see you later.